Want to know how the Instagram algorithm works? Well, this is the video for you that you've been looking for. The Instagram algorithm explained. No nonsense, just the facts. Here's how the algorithm really works in 2025. Is it friend or foe? And what are some of the aspects of it that you need to understand in order to grow, sell, and engage more on Instagram? So let's get into it today as we help you step your gram up as we always do on this latest episode of the Social Roundtable. Welcome, everybody. Happy Monday. I hope that you guys are ready for another insightful and fun episode of the Social Roundtable. Today is going to be a really interesting episode as we are discussing everybody's favorite, Uncle Al, as I like to refer to it, the Instagram algorithm. We are going to be joined today by a very special guest who's returning to the Social Roundtable. But as always, I want to make sure I show a little bit of love to our moderator in the live chat, Angela. Thank you so much for holding us down, as well as my always weekly guest, who's also amazing. Also, Megan, what's going on?
Hello, how's it going? So excited. Today's episode is going to be jam-packed full of strategy, tips, and takeaways for you to go and implement right away. As Heston mentioned, we are joined by Alan from Grow with Alan, and he is a content creator and social media strategist for creators all around the world, helping them grow and scale their brand online. Alan, can you take a moment to say hello to our audience and any introduction pieces you'd like to share?
Yeah, hi, I'm Alan. You may know me as Grow with Alan. I help creators, coaches, service pros actually grow their Instagram and monetize. What I'm all about really is building smart content systems to help people attract the right people, not just inflate their followers.
Yes, that is so important. Thank you very much. We are going to rock and roll here. I know we have a very hot topic, so Heston, take it away.
Yes, we always got the hot topics on this episode of the Social Roundtable, so it's no different like our others. Just to give you guys an idea of how this show is going to run, I got a couple of questions for Megan and Alan. I will share my answers every now and again as well, but we do want to make sure we share a little bit of time for you guys who have questions also. So if you have any questions, please go ahead and share them throughout the conversation. You don't have to wait until the end. If you are watching us live, go ahead and put it in the live chat right now. We have our, like I said, we have our moderator Angela join us in the live chat also. So she's there also. I see a few of you guys. Shout out to Greg and Laura. You guys are already there. Glad to see you guys here on Monday. If you have any questions you're catching the replay, don't worry. We'll still answer your questions. Just throw it in the comments and we'll get to them as soon as possible. But like I said, we're going to get into our conversation, have a little bit of fun this episode because we are going to play a little trivia game. And as I said, we're going to have some Q&A time for you guys at the end of our conversation. Once again, this is the Social Roundtable. Thank you for joining us. And we're going to get into this conversation all about here is how the algorithm really works in 2025. Are you guys ready to get started on this conversation?
Yes.
Awesome. Well, I hope that you guys are ready because I want to lead off. I'm going to ask this question to you first, Alan, being our special guest here on the Social Roundtable. We're talking about Instagram algorithms, and sometimes you hear negative, sometimes you hear positive in reference to the algorithm. And sometimes you hear the statements are the algorithm isn't helping. Beat the algorithm, conquer the algorithm. Sometimes it begins to feel as if Instagram's algorithm is our enemy. And maybe we should question, is it? Or is the algorithm quite the opposite of what others are portraying? So, Alan, my question for you first, and Megan, you could obviously respond right after. How should we view Instagram's algorithm? Is it as a friend or as a foe?
Well, it's certainly, I actually get a bit angry when I hear people talking about beating the algorithm or crushing the algorithm in some way, because that's not really what it's about. The algorithm isn't a barrier, as most people see it. If they don't get their content out to the right people, it's not an algorithm issue. It's your content or what you've been sharing. Basically, the algorithm is your friend. It's trying to connect the right people with the right content at the end of the day. So it's a case of actually working out how the algorithm works a little bit and actually playing to its strengths. Do things that makes the algorithm think this is content that's worth being shared. I'm going to show it to more people. It's quite simple really in your approach, but it's learning how the algorithm works and how to get your content in front of the right people. At the end of the day, it's trying to get the right content in front of the right people. It's definitely your friend, make sure you try and become friends with it and use it appropriately.
Yes, that is a very good way to look at it. And I have to agree 100% that it's out there to help us. We just have to learn how to work with it. And, at the end of the day, Instagram is a business and they are trying to make their platform enjoyable for their creators. So we have to remember they're not doing things to make us dislike this platform. They want us to like it. We just have to learn how to really work with it. So I totally agree with that. I know though that some days it can feel like the algorithm is against you, and it's kind of nice to think that there's a way to beat it once and for all. So it's easy to fall into that trap. I'm just curious from everyone in the audience, thumbs up if you've ever felt like the algorithm is against you, thumbs down if you're like, no, I got this, I'm always crushing it. Because I know sometimes I've felt that, even though I know it's not.
It could definitely feel that way sometimes, especially when you put out this reel that you've probably been working on for like a good 30 minutes, an hour, even more. And it feels like it's only reaching crickets. And you're like, man, does the algorithm hate me today? Because I thought I was on fire last week. And to this week, it is not working for me. Or maybe even a carousel or your IG story is not reaching the same amount of people that it usually does. I do see a few people responding in the comments. Um, Angela, I'm getting a bunch of thumbs up. So it looks like you guys are feeling it, the algorithm. But that's good. Go ahead and continue putting in your messages in the live chat, and we'll probably shout out a few of you guys if you have any comments or questions along during our conversation. But I think you guys are on it. I think I basically agree with both what you guys are saying. It's a friend. I don't think Instagram is in the business of losing money, because if they built an enemy for you, the content creator, you wouldn't want to be on Instagram anymore, and it would be out of business pretty quickly. So I think it's not just a friend, but even a partner, if you want to look at it. We just have to kind of know how to manage with that partner. So I see a few more thumbs up in the comments. Awesome. Thank you, Greg. Greg just put like thumbs up all across the board. All right, so we're going to go to our next question. But before we do, just a little quick reminder. Once again, this is the Social Roundtable that you are watching, a weekly YouTube live series that myself and Megan host every week with you guys that want to learn more about Instagram, social media, digital marketing, content creation, so much more. Today, we are so glad to be joined by Alan. You may know him better as Grow with Alan. And we're talking today all about here's how the algorithm really works in 2025. We're so glad that you are here, but we want to make sure that you don't miss out on any future episodes. So please don't forget to hit the subscribe button so that you can join us in our respective communities and won't miss another episode that happens every Monday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you want to get this type of content to more people, make sure you're also hitting that like button as well. I'm going to remind you of all of these things later on during our show. But my next question I want to go to, and sorry, Alan, you are our guest. I'm going to go to you once again first. We're going to talk about basically what everybody is here for. And I know that everybody who's probably familiar with Adam Mosseri, I like to call him Instagram's big boss. We've heard him say a few times that the algorithm is always changing. It's constantly learning and adapting to its 2+ billion users. Yes, 2 with a B, 2 billion users. But there are elements that remain the same and we can utilize for our own benefits. So, Alan, and I would love to know whether you have one or two different ideas for this. What are some aspects of Instagram's algorithm that we should understand, and how can we utilize it to help our content strategy, audience growth, and more?
I think the main thing that a lot of people miss or are not really clear on is that the Instagram algorithm isn't one master algorithm. There are different algorithms across for all different aspects of it, different one for stories, different for explore, feed, reels, whatever it is. So it's actually working out which one is going to be best for what you're trying to achieve, what your goal is. So it's certainly learning a little bit more about it. It's going to take time. It takes a bit more effort, and you've got to think in a much more focused way of, I've got this piece of content and I want it to drive a certain action. What kind of content should I put that into? What kind of format? Is it going to do better as a reel? Is it going to do better as a carousel, for example? The main way I look at it is if it's something that has a broad appeal, it's probably going to do better as a reel, because that's going to be shown to more non-followers and more of a random group of people, and then might get pushed out to by the algorithm from there. So that's certainly something to do. If it's a more niche piece of content, certainly it's worth maybe doing that as a carousel. So it goes out to your own audience first, who are going to be already familiar with what you do. And once their interactions build up, then it's likely to get pushed out by the algorithm to explore and be shown to more people who have interacted with that kind of content before. So always match your content format to your goal and use it accordingly. But work out how those algorithms work. You can find out lots of different stuff if you just go through Instagram's creator pages and work out how each algorithm works and how you can make them work best for you.
Well explained. I really like the way that you broke that down in regards to finding what works best for you based on the type of content. Because sometimes, although it's almost like fitting a puzzle piece in the wrong puzzle, and it just doesn't work out for you when you try to apply one type of content niche with another type of content format. I mean, you can do it, but it's not going to work to the best of your benefit. You'll be able to reap more of the benefits if you use a particular content format. And you mentioned reels and carousels, but then there's some others that might be like IG stories or even lives. Like, it really depends on what you're trying to do, as Alan stated. Megan, was there anything else that you wanted to add to that as well?
Yeah, that's a really good point to understand, the purpose of each content format, and also like how we consume that content is going to be a big factor behind what type of content should be each format, which topics should be in each format. So that's a really good point, Alan, and understanding that different content formats really are going to drive different types of engagement, based on the account and the topic at hand. But I would say that something that's super important to understand about the algorithm, and we are going to all kind of roll our eyes here, but consistency helps strengthen your algorithm. So
she said the consistency word.
Oh no, don't exit out. No. The thing is, the more you talk about or create content about said topics, the stronger your algorithm gets. So it's okay to have variation in your topics. I feel like in 2025, more than ever, it's a lot of people are adding in some more lifestyle or random things in their niche, but they're doing it in a very smart way. It's not completely random. It still is connected to their target audience and what they want to engage with. So it's okay to be throwing in things here and there, but ultimately, when it comes down to really training your algorithm and posting about the same X amount of topics over and over and over is going to help that algorithm know, okay, this is exactly what this is about. This is what this account is about. This is what this content is about. And we need to show it to people who really enjoy these topics and want to constantly be consuming that type of content.
I like the way that you broke that down. I don't mean to put you on blast here, but if you can provide an example using your own content in regards to what you're describing, where you're trying to be consistent but using something than what your audience is used to, how do you do that, or how would you?
Sorry, you broke up. Can you say the question again?
Sorry, no problem. I'm curious if you could share an example of how you do exactly what you just stated.
The part of bringing in kind of like that random part?
Yeah, like that random part.
Yeah. So personally, I do a lot of it in my stories more than in like my content itself. And that would be like randomly showing me and my dog outside, but really I'm still tying it back into my brand and my people of like, I get to work from home, so I get to take a break outside with my dog. Or, maybe she's in my office with me and, she's the best little coworker or something like that. Sometimes in my content, I mean, she shows up too, but I could also be showing different parts of my life. Like I'm puzzling, like I love puzzling, super random. And maybe that's like a clip in the reel, but it has to do with kind of like my overall personality, which helps build my brand. And it's not about puzzling, it's about, that freedom and the lifestyle that I enjoy.
All right, I think that's a great example, and I've noticed that I'm following you for such a long time. I have noticed that, and you kind of get to learn about the person too. I mean, you're learning about their brand and what they offer, which is great the way you're tying it in. But you also learn about them, like you mentioned, puzzling. So that's something that you might be able to connect and relate to with certain other individuals.
For sure.
So I'm going to share mine. I'm going to add on something in regards to what Megan just shared.
Oh, are you frozen?
Am I frozen?
Oh, no, there you are.
All right. Sorry about that. Listen, guys, it's Monday. I'm having a little bit of internet issues. Hopefully we could get through this entire episode without any other issues. But I'm going to go to my question. My answer to this question. Once again, just remind you guys, the question is, what are some aspects of an algorithm we should understand, and how can we utilize it to help our content strategy, audience growth, and more? I'm going to go to one that I think a lot of people tend to forget about, and that's relationships. The algorithm heavily favors and uses the idea of relationships to figure out how to connect people and their content. The more likely or the more connected you are that the algorithm looks at and says, okay, these people know each other compared to these two are strangers, is the more likely you'll see the content. The algorithm is considering how closely users interact with each other all the time. And the stronger the relationship, the more likely you'll see each other's content. For example, whenever you follow somebody for the very first time, you are more likely than ever to see more of their content than at any other point, because you just showed one of the most strongest signal factors according to the algorithm. You subscribe to them, you follow them, and that's saying you're interested in their content. And the algorithm takes that and says, okay, I'm going to show them more of this person's content because they have shown explicit reasoning that they are interested in it. They've taken action. So that's what the algorithm is going to do. Another example, two ideas that you could utilize to take advantage of this aspect of the algorithm. And that's comments, which is number one. We know that when we comment on people's content, we tend to see their content as well, more of the other future content, as well as if we're able to go back and forth in the comments, it's just great engagement in general for our content. So that's one thing I would always suggest to do. One of the best ways to do that, I think we're all familiar with the acronym CTA, call to action. Just simply ask a question, tell somebody to do something specifically, especially if it's a very simple question. Like I always go to the question, Megan knows I always go to this question, what type of phone do you have? Is it Apple or Android? Very easy, simple question to answer. And they respond, you pick up engagement, you can start building up conversations in the comments and move forward that way. Another way to do it is with DMs. DMs is a very strong indicator of a relationship. If you are DMing someone, there's a private relationship that the algorithm says they have a very strong connection, and I want to grow them and bring them even closer together. Now, for you guys know, I specialize in DM automation, and that's one of the really major advantages of utilizing like Manychat and some of these other tools to actually start the conversation or even carry it on based on depending on what you want that automation to do. So you have comments and you have DMs. And those are two very strong ways that you could actually make the algorithm see that there's a strong relationship between you and your users. That's all I have on that one. Do you guys have anything else that you guys wanted to share in regards to that?
I would say that is, actually kind of what I was going to say for another point. So thanks for that one. But I will say you're spot on in the fact that it's that like the depth of the connection that allows your algorithm to really strengthen the way that somebody's content shows up in other people's feed. Very good point.
I want to take a moment before we continue on. I see a question in the live chat. This one is from Greg. He wants to know if by learning the algorithm each time a new one comes out, which I'm glad you know that you realize there's more than one algorithm. Do you, wonderful three people, see it as easy or as an obstacle, at least right from the beginning? So I think to pretty much say, Greg wants to know, do we find this easy or challenging to always stay up to date with all of these changes to the algorithm? I'm going to go to this time. I'm going to go to you first, Megan, in regards to this question, because it's a personal question. There's no right or wrong answer, but how do you come across learning the algorithm on a constant basis?
I don't want to say easy, but I wouldn't necessarily say challenging either. Um, I think that the overall concept is always going to be about how to keep somebody on the platform longer. So as long as you understand each algorithm as things are changing, they're changing based on consumer behavior. So when you study the way that people consume and connect, then you're going to be just fine with continuing to learn it as it evolves. And I think it's kind of fun. Okay, I think it's really fun to like study the psychology behind it. So yeah, I don't know if I would say easy or challenging, but and it's entertaining to learn.
Entertaining is a good word to use for the challenging and easiness of learning the algorithm on a constant basis. How about you, Alan?
Yeah, I think the same really. I do always have a bit of trepidation when something new comes out, because you always think, what have they done now? How's this going to affect things? And it usually throws a curveball for everybody. But once you've had a look at it, and there's so many great resources we can look at, so many great creators out there, and see what they're saying about new things, because as soon as something new comes out, a lot of people will jump on and start breaking it down for everybody else. And I think that's such a good thing to do. And we all benefit from that. So that's a good way to do it. It's always fun to learn about what's changing and what's coming, and getting up to speed with it and seeing how you can get it to work for your business. Really, how is this going to impact me? How is it going to impact the content that I'm putting out? We had that early this year, really, when they started going all in on shares. Everything was cents per each. You've got to have shareable content all the time now, and everybody has to make that kind of little pivot to make their content more shareable. But it's part of the game, really, with Instagram. And it's challenging, but yeah, keeps us on the toes.
You said exactly what I was going to say. That same phrase keeps us on our toes, and I think that's exactly it. There's never really a dull moment. There's always something to learn. I don't know about you both or those that are watching, but that song sometimes it was a trending like a couple months ago. Anxiety, and like anxiety, the song, how the way it goes. I feel like that song plays every time I see Moseri on an IG reel. Like every time he's about to announce something, like that song just is in the background of my head. Anxiety, because I'm like, okay, what are they releasing now? What do I have to stop what I'm currently doing and learn quickly? And it's like learning the news in a way. When you work in a newsroom, you see how quickly and fast they're learning and getting the facts. And with with this industry, you have to go out there and learn it and experiment with it. We test these things and then come back and give you what we've learned from our point of view. Because as kind of hinted at, not everything is necessarily going to work for you. Depending on your business, they might have a brand new feature that sounds amazing to one creator, but it might completely ruin another creator's business if they adopted it into their strategy. So, as Alan kind of stated, as Megan hinted also, you have to figure out which one works best for you and then move forward with it. But it is fun to try and experiment. It's challenging to keep up to date, but I won't say it's necessarily hard. So I hope that answers your question, Greg. I am sure that you're learning a little bit as well also. I think it's just something that all of us have, just with whatever social media network that you're on. All right, so we're going to go back to our main question just to see if you guys have any other follow-ups to this question. Once again, the question is, what are some aspects of Instagram's algorithm that we should understand, and how can we utilize it to help our content strategy, audience growth, and more? I'm going to go back one more last time to you, Alan, to see if you had anything else that you wanted to share with the viewing audience.
I was going to talk about things that you've both touched on already, which was how your own interactions and behavior actually affects the algorithm. But one of the things that really affects it is the way that you're interacting within your niche. So keep your account, if you've got a business or a creator account, keep it very clean, keep it very aligned to what it is that you do. So that's as far as the people you engage with, the content you interact with, the kind of things you're searching for. The algorithm is essentially building a picture about you, which is like a content profile, and it's actually looking at all these signals that you're sending, what's going back and forth, what conversations you're having, what you're looking at, what you're interacting with. It makes such an impact on how your content is going to be shown to other people. So it's very important to actually make sure that's all aligned. If you want to look at other things on Instagram, that's fine, but use a personal profile for it. A good way to have a sort of check on how aligned you are with your actual content and your account as a whole is to go onto your own explore page. Go onto that. If you see a mishmash of lots of different content, complete content chaos, then you're not really aligning your account properly. If it's a lot of things that you're in your industry, if it's a lot of things that align with what it is that you do, you're probably on the right track. So keeping your account aligned with what it is you do, who you serve, and what kind of offers you have is certainly going to be paramount at the end of the day.
Good addition to that. Definitely think that a lot of people sometimes tend to forget about that. But when you keep it to heart, you keep it in mind, you realize you got to keep these things as part of your strategy. It kind of makes it easier. It becomes routine. It definitely becomes routine when you start to practice it all the time. I want to see, I'm going to go to you, Megan, to see if you have any other. I just want to take a quick moment to remind you guys, if you are watching right now, you're not subscribed to either my channel or Megan's, please take a moment to do that. We're greatly appreciated. Hit that big red button that says subscribe. And we're so glad that you'll be able to join our community and not miss any of our future episodes. Megan, if you could take it home and let us know what you have on the list for this answer.
Of course. All right. So we've kind of poked at this one a little bit here and there, but ultimately, if you want to make that algorithm work with you, make all of the little algorithms on Instagram sync up and help you reach more people and get that engagement, you have got to understand that they are all the algorithms are going to favor what keeps people on the app longer, what keeps people on that piece of content longer. So that's why watch time is so important. And I mean watch time for reels, but also for your stories. Are they exiting out? Are they clicking next right away? Also for your carousels and single images. And are they going to the caption? Are they then taking, from that post? Are they then going to your profile? From your profile, are they then messaging you? Are they then engaging on other pieces of content? It's all about that next step that people are taking and the length of time they're spending on your piece of content. So when it comes to what type of engagement is the best, do you want to get those views? Do you want to get saves, shares, likes, comments, whatever? I mean, it has been said that number one is watch time and number two would be sends. Like Instagram has come out and said that. But ultimately, it's okay if you're going for other goals like saves, likes, comments, because they have different purposes. And as long as it's something that's keeping people on this platform and on your content, it's working in your favor. So really making sure you're creating content with variety of purposes to help people really get deeper connection with you.
Great advice in regards to that, because sometimes we do forget about some of these small factors that are so important to the algorithm. Watch time, we've heard it from Adam Mosseri, we hear from other content creators as well. It is very important. And I'm so glad that you mentioned carousels. I think when we hear the term watch time, we really apply it to only video, but it does apply to carousels as well, because you got to think about it. If somebody's creating a 10 slide carousel and they could only get the person through slides, that's a problem. That is something that you want to make sure that you fix. And I want to use Alan as an example. I've always said Alan has one. He's in, like, as far as I'm concerned, like in the top 3 of carousel creators. Like, go ahead and check out Alan's. Please go ahead and check out Alan's page. By the way, I didn't say this yet. All of the links are in the description right now if you want to go check out our Instagram or YouTube. So please make sure to do that after the show. But you'll see what I'm talking about when you go to Alan's page. It's a great storytelling, and he definitely knows how to get people not just from the cover, but to the last slide. And when you're doing that, if you get one person from first slide to the end, that is pretty much 100% watch time. They've watched the entire carousel, and that's what you want. You don't want them to drop off midway or even, a quarter of the way. You want them to get through the entire carousel. So glad you mentioned watch time. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, that was 5 tips that we shared all together on how we could utilize the algorithm of 2025 today and improve it for us, because there are certain factors, certain standards that the algorithm would always follow. It is constantly changing, but there are factors and standards that it would always continue to move forward with, and we could always take advantage of those. So, with that being said, I want to say thank you guys for watching that portion of our conversation, and I hope that you guys take note, have took some information and found it very insightful, so you can go ahead and do this yourself. As I always say, step your gram up in the best way possible. We're going to move over now to a little fun game that Megan is going to lead us through. And if you guys have any questions, we will take a moment to answer them as well. If you're watching live, you can start posting those questions in the live chat. Megan, you got the mic. Lead us into this fun trivia game that we're about to play.
Awesome. Alrighty. So, simple game of would you rather. Going to name off 2 things. And in the comments, love to hear your feedback, A or B. And then we'll go around the room as well. So, number 1, and Alan, I'm going to you first. Get ready. Would you rather only be able to use A, email marketing, or B, Instagram stories when it comes to marketing your business?
Yeah, for me, I've been doubling down on email marketing, and I think there's a very important distinction we need to make here. And although Instagram stories are very good for selling, as is email marketing, I think Instagram stories, there is very much a ceiling of how much people are going to pay for a product that you actually start promoting in your Instagram stories. I think if you've got a high ticket product, you're going to have a lot of trouble trying to sell that just with Instagram stories. I think it's going to take a long time to sort of build people up and get them to trust you enough just using stories to actually go for a high ticket product. So I think for low ticket digital products, I think IG stories is excellent. I think if you've got anything a bit more mid ticket to high ticket, I think you definitely need to be on email marketing. So for me, using email at the moment is sort of paramount and something I'm really pushing and doubling down on. So I think for me, it would have to be getting rid of Instagram stories.
Okay. All right. Interesting. Very good points there for sure. Thank you for that. Heston, what would you say?
I just want to say I love that perspective of what Alan said about the ceiling in regards to a viewer's price point, and I think you're absolutely right with that. And that's not something I've really truly considered, but I think that's an excellent observation. Despite that observation, though, Alan, I think I'm going to go with get rid of email marketing. Um, I've noticed, I think both are great. First of all, email marketing, I think, is heavily underrated. I think a lot more people should be building newsletters and mailing lists. That is something that you definitely should be doing. But you guys know I do specialize in DM automation, and that is one of the key things that I've been able to do with my clients using IG stories. And I've seen some amazing results and returns from using DM automation tied with IG stories, because it's so much easier to build that connection in IG stories. That audience is very warm if they're looking at your IG stories. And when you use DM automation the right way strategically, not only are you able to reach that person that's interested, but when you start creating that engagement, as we kind of said with comments and DMs earlier, that helps the algorithm. And then now, if your IG story usually goes to 100 people, it now will double. It increases the reach the more people comment, or I should say, message that keyword. So now it increases. And if it continues to do that, it's just going to create this large snowball effect that you start to bring in people that haven't seen your content prior before. And now they're back into your algorithm ranking. So that's why I would choose IG stories with this. But I definitely feel like people need to focus on email marketing as well.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I mean, I love the difference there. And also, like, just a reminder for everyone, I mean, it really has to do with what you are looking to achieve and your audience, right? So those are very good points. And I think for myself, I would say I would rather use Instagram stories than email marketing, even though what was stated about the strength of email marketing is so true. And I agree 100%. I just enjoy creating Instagram stories more. So I guess I'm going down the fun route of what's more enjoyable. And I see here in the chat, we have got James says A, so would rather email marketing. Greg, A, email marketing. Greg adds memberships and newsletters. Yes, for sure. I mean, both are so powerful.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for
can I add one?
Yeah.
I do want to add one thing, and it actually goes against my choice. People could sell an email list and they can't sell their audience and IG story. I've seen people sell their email list for 6 figures. I've seen it happen. So I will say if you're looking for revenue, that's one aspect in the plus side of going with email marketing.
That is good. That is true. But I'm going to say, just to be devil's advocate, you can get brand deals and you're getting pretty much paid to sell to that audience, which also can be a newsletter. I mean, there's so many different ways. Yeah, but that's true. I don't think people understand how much you can make off of email marketing and your audience size. Yeah, it's crazy. Thank you, everyone, for those answers. We're going to do one more question here. And I'll go to you first, Heston, and then Alan after. Would you rather A, get 1,000 shares on your next post, or B, get 1 million views on your next reel?
1,000 shares on my next post or 1 million views? Oh man, that is a hard question. It's not as easy. I mean, I know I see the number difference, but I think I might go with shares.
Okay.
I think I might go with shares. I'm going to definitely go with shares. My reason why, when people share a piece of content, they are intentionally thinking of somebody that would be interested in that piece of content. So I feel like I would actually reach more of my targeted audience because the people that are sharing are sending it to specific people, rather than if a piece of content gets 1 million views, that could be 10% my target audience. The other 90% is uninterested, really. So I'm going to go with it sounds weird when I say it, but I'm going to go with 1,000 shares.
Yeah, for sure. I love it. And I love that you took that time to really think, because I mean, both sound good, right? Alan, what would you say?
It is a tough question when you boil it down. I've never had a 7-figure reel before. I'd like to see a 1 followed by 6 zeros in my reels tab, but it's never happened.
It's going to happen.
That said, I would say the same as Heston. I think the 1,000 shares is more likely to get to more relevant pool of people, even if it's less. But with 1,000 shares, I think it's going to do some serious reach anyway. Maybe not 1 million views, but it's going to be getting up there. So I think I'd go with the sends per each, and and go with that one.
Yes, I love it. Of course, I would expect you guys to have good, thoughtful answers on this. It's tempting to want all of the engagement, right? But it is important for us to really understand. I think it also can remind us that, smaller numbers don't necessarily mean bad. Bigger numbers don't necessarily mean good. Mm-hmm. It's all about aligning with your goals. And in the chat here, I see we've got Laura says A. So that would be shares. Yes. And Greg as well, for sure. I love it. Thank you, guys. I personally, real quick, I'll just say I agree with what's been said. I'd rather have shares. Views are fun and lots can come out of it, but the shares, like especially Heston, what you mentioned about that, quality of person that it's getting sent to, they were top of mind for a reason. So they're probably your target audience too.
Yeah, I think so. First off, great questions, Megan. Those are some really challenging questions. Really good ones. And thank you guys that are joining in the live chat. Hey, if you're watching the replay, I want to know what you guys think as well. So go ahead and put it in the comments. We would love to see what you guys say. And we will be replying back to everybody that responds to these questions or anything else in general in the comments if you're watching the replay. So I put out a question. Well, I asked for questions from you guys in the live chat, and I didn't get anything just yet. But I actually have something that I want to kind of share since we have some free time before we end. There is something big going on Instagram, and I want to kind of get Alan and Megan's feedback. But for those that are watching, you may not be aware of this, so consider this groundbreaking news if you want. All right, July 10th, which, if I'm not mistaken, is this Thursday. Instagram has announced they are going to start displaying the public content, meaning if the content is publicly accessible, of professional accounts in search results of Google and other search engines. So that means if, let's say that you bake cookies and all of your content on Instagram is all about the recipes for cookies that you've been making, you've been baking for years, but everything has been restricted strictly to Instagram. Well, if you've been doing things properly, and we're going to get a little bit into that, I guess, during our conversation right now, your content from Instagram can show up on a Google search starting this Thursday. So if somebody's on Google searching for cookie recipes, your Instagram reels and your carousels can show up starting this Thursday. This is, at least to me, big news. But I want to hear from Alan and Megan in regards to this because not a lot of people are aware. So, Alan, I want to know pretty much in regards to this brand new news that is landing to most people. Just basically, simply, what are your thoughts on Instagram's content being displayed in Google search results? And when I say Google, I'm using Google because they're the main platform, but there are other search engines also. What are your thoughts in regards to this?
Yeah, I think this is fantastic and about time, to be honest. It shows that Instagram is moving more away from being a social app and more to a discovery engine, because now that content is going to start showing up on all across the internet and can be searched from there, that's going to bring a lot more people actually to your content and to your profile. And the important thing to consider for all of us who are going to be taking advantage of this is to just make sure you're getting those keywords in everywhere on your content. Make sure your account is specifically aligned. Make sure those keywords that people are going to be searching for are showing up on your content, on your captions, text on screen, all of it across the board, because Google is doing all its search results on relevance. So the more relevant it is, that's what's going to bring you those search results. So I think it's a great step forward for creators, because I feel that Instagram hasn't really supported creators very well in the past. Very limited monetization features and those kind of things. So I think that now they're taking this step, it's actually going to help a lot of creators out and maybe make Instagram more of a place that creators feel like they are being supported and should invest more time into. So I'm all for it and excited to see certainly how that expands over the next few months.
Yeah, I'm so glad we were able to talk about algorithm. Mind you, guys, we planned to talk about algorithms way before this news came out. It just so happens to be landing on the same week. So I'm glad that we're able to talk about this because this is going to be a part or a play of a factor of the how we're going to be utilizing the algorithm on Instagram to get to Google search engine results. It seems like this was a surprise. I'm looking at the live chat and not a lot of people were aware of this news. So I'm glad that we're able to be breaking this to you guys. Megan, how about you? How do you feel in regards to this latest news about Instagram content now going to be discoverable on Google and other search engines?
Yes, I shared a reel about this last week actually, because I was playing around and testing. Who else Googles himself? Like sometimes I have to, check in, see, Googled myself, and Google some keywords about, my brand and my business. And it was so fun to see one, if I popped up, where I popped up, and what other creators are popping up. Because sometimes we get so caught in our algorithm and who we engage with, who we follow. And there's so many creators on Instagram that, it's really cool to have a search engine also help recommend things, not just like our algorithms on Instagram, so we can find new creators that way, and do market research that way as well. But I'm very, very excited about it. I think from what I found when I was searching myself, searching just like Instagram growth, I only popped up like 1 or 2 times. But when I searched the exact keyword that is after my name, I think it's Megan Harriman, Instagram growth and marketing. I think Instagram growth and marketing. When I just searched Instagram growth and marketing, then I popped up a ton. And so that exact keyword phrase that was after your name, not your handle, but your name on Instagram, can be really powerful.
Wise observation about that, and I think that that might call for another reel or another piece of content from you to talk about it even more. That would be great. I'll share my thoughts on this. I think this is great news that Instagram has decided to do this. Just like Alan said, it's about time. I'm very surprised that it took this long. I mean, Instagram is what, 14 years old now, 15 about. It's a teenager. I think it should have had this since it was a toddler, if you ask me. But I'm glad that they are doing this. I'm probably going to do the same thing as Megan did. Go and Google myself and see what occurs and use that strategy of the specific keywords that I'm utilizing in my bio. But once again, we have to be using the right strategies and the right tips. We should have been doing this before. But if anything, this tells you should be doing it now, because if you were doing it before, all of that content that you've been posting prior would have been very easy accessible and indexed via this new update. But no worries. I'm not trying to tell you to go back and make any changes. Let's go and step forward with the right foot from now on and actually make that progress easier now by, adopting, by utilizing the right keywords and just practicing the right way for SEO on social media. And Greg mentioned that he liked that keyword, that term that you use, discovery engine, because that's exactly what it's going to become. Instagram is becoming a discovery engine, and it's going to make content creators want to create more content. And I think this is a good move. Finally, a good move from Instagram. They've been doing a lot of good things lately this year. I have to commend them on that. They've been making small and major big moves. I saw a lot of you guys in the live chat talking about Edits app. I think that might have been one of them as well. But there's been a lot of good moves from Instagram. Let's hope that they could end the year as strong as they've pretty much started. But I think that's pretty much the end of our conversation now, guys. We've spoke here for just going on about an hour, all about Instagram algorithm, particularly how it's working in 2025. I don't know about you guys, but I got a lot of insight from this conversation from Megan and, of course, our special guest, Alan. Alan, I want to give you a moment now for you to kind of share what are you up to, where can the people find you, and anything else that you want to share with the audience now. And this is your time. Go ahead, please, and let them know where they can reach out to you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on as well. I really enjoyed it. I'm Alan, Grow with Alan. I'm sure a lot of you know me, but head over to my profile and check out what I do. You'll see a lot of carousels on there, a lot of Instagram growth tips and monetization as well. So please head on over there to check out my free content. If you're looking to work with me, the main thing I'm doing at the moment is Instagram coaching, which is one-to-one 60-minute sessions, which I help you with anything, content strategy, engagement strategies, building up your monetization profile, offers, any of that, any and all of that. If you've got any questions, just hop into my DMs. I'm always available and will always be happy to talk to anybody. So drop in there and I hope to see you.
Awesome. Make sure you guys do check him out, as well as all of us also in part of this episode of the Social Roundtable. Once again, all of our links are in the description of this video, including our moderator. Shout out to Angela. Thank you very much for repping it and holding it down in the live chat with all of our amazing viewers. Thank you guys for joining us today. Megan, where can the people find you as well?
Definitely. You guys can find me on Instagram, on Threads, on YouTube, all the things. And Happy Creating is officially launching this Thursday. My podcast has been in the works for a couple months now, and it was ready to go. Last week was the launch day, and I was telling Heston, all of my content disappeared. So 3 full episodes, don't know where it went, still haven't found it. I'm okay. I'm over it. clearly. But that being said, it all happens for a reason, and it will be available for you wherever you can listen to podcasts and here on YouTube on Thursday.
Awesome. I'm so excited to hear that. Guys, make sure, once again, the links are in the bottom. I might have to start adding a new podcast link for Megan every week now. That's what we're going to have to do. Awesome. I'm very glad to hear that. Good things are happening. Guys, I am Heston of Social Varsity. Like I probably mentioned a couple of times during this very live stream, I specialize in DM automation, particularly Manychat. And if that is something of interest to you, please go ahead and check out my page as well. I have started an IG subscription, and it's only $1 a month, where you can actually learn a lot more about the full potential of Manychat. I'm talking about doing more than just sending links. So if you're interested in that, make sure you check it out. I want to say thank you to everybody for joining us here today on this latest episode of the Social Roundtable. We are going to be back next week, Monday, same time, same channel, right here on this YouTube channel. Once again, if you guys have not subscribed, please make sure to do that by hitting the subscribe button. And if you got any value conversation, hit the like button as well so that others can find it also. If you guys are looking for anything else, just slide into our DMs, and we will see you on the next episode of the Social Roundtable. Thank you guys, and take care. And until the next time, later.
Bye.